Hey, welcome. Enjoying your blended family, all the B-fams out there for a
What's up?
Monday episode. What is up is what we are saying today. What is up? But really, we're asking a different question. Not just what is up, but we're asking, does a stepmom deal with jealousy? Do they deal with jealousy? And
Dun,
that's
dun,
that's the real question. Because I mean, do they? Do they really? It's kind of like that thing that, if a tree falls in the middle of the woods, does it make a noise? I don't know. Do we? Do we really know? And so we're
And I'll say, when we came up with this topic, I was in a moment of feeling vulnerable and willing to talk about it. And then as this topic kept, we were like, well, what are we going to record for this next week or, this month? And it's like I wanted to keep pushing it off because I'm like,
I'm going to get really...
do I want to
vulnerable.
get real on this? So,
But that's kind of what we do. We get real, we get vulnerable, and we get honest, and we share our perspective and kind of the things that we've been through in hopes that it relates to you and it gives you hope and it gives you more knowledge in what you're going through to help you and your family come closer together.
my heart's pounding a little bit.
So yeah, it's going to be a good one. And we're going to ask that question, does a stepmom deal with jealousy? And we're probably even going to get to talk on the biomom side as well, because we got somebody who is both a stepmom and a biomom.
Yeah, from both perspectives.
Both perspectives. So, all right, and kind of from what we've seen and heard and everything as well. So we're going to share all that momentarily, so it'll be good. Y'all stay tuned. All right, so the real question is, if a tree does fall in the wood, does it make noise? And if no one's around? And we don't know because no one's around. So
The answer is it does.
It does. Okay, well, there we go. There,
does
we
make a
solved.
sound.
We solved at least that problem.
Because we are in an age of technology. You could go put a camera and record it. And if it fell, you'd be able to hear the sound.
Yeah, but then someone's really there because we're listening, we're recording.
No, you leave the camera. Anyways.
Okay, well. So the real question that we're all here for anyway is, does a stepmom deal with jealousy? And I think coming from a dad's perspective, from a stepdad's perspective, from a bio dad's perspective, is that the answer is no. They do not deal with jealousy. So there we go. End of episode. Boom.
Well, I'm glad that I did such an incredible job that you never thought that I was jealous.
Never at one. I'm like, no, I've seen it. I've lived through it, and no other stepmom ever talks about it. And everybody, all stepmoms and biomoms, they've all got it together. So nobody has any jealousy in their hearts at all. So we're good.
Well, the truth is, I think this is one of those things, if you were to be asked, you know what the right answer is. You know that you probably shouldn't feel jealous. And if you want to be a woman that's secure in your motherhood or yourself, you don't want to admit that you have these feelings of jealousy. And so there's been several things over the years that I know jealousy played a part in, but that I would never openly admit that that's what the root was. But then we've had a couple situations that's come up, as we've been doing podcasts or we talk on hard topics. I've had one of our friends that we've had on the podcast before, Tanya, that has she DM'd me and said, hey, this is a topic that I think goes untalked about because of our insecurity of feeling judged or our own pride that we don't want to admit that we feel jealous of certain situations. And so I was like, yeah, you're probably right. And then I kind of let that marinate, but it all came to a head Christmas. I think it was Christmas morning. And I think that's the thing where I told Randall, maybe this is something that we should talk about. And I purposely put my necklace on right now. Oh. But let's see if you can see.
If you're on the YouTube watching, she has her little necklace.
If you're on the YouTubes.
If you're on the YouTubes. But if not, it is a gold.
Describe it.
It's a gold necklace that looks like a miniature purse.
Or an envelope.
Or an envelope. Yeah, it kind of looks, yeah, exactly. That's what it is. It's like an envelope. It's a golden envelope that's super small that you can open. You can flip open. And so inside of that,
Yes, has this little teeny tiny scripture that Riley, our oldest, my stepdaughter, took one of my favorite scriptures. Now, unfortunately, I'm dumb and I wear this in the shower sometimes and it gets wet. But if you can see, it's just a little tiny scripture that she has written
it's a
on
little
it.
letter that's folded up into this little
Super
envelope.
teeny tiny, and it goes
that is a
in here.
necklace. Yeah, it's such a cool idea.
Yes, and when I got it, I mean, it made, teared me up. Just her thoughtfulness. She is so good at giving gifts. And so I treasured this. I just like, oh my goodness, like she means so much to me. Our relationship has had so many ups and downs where we are now. Even lately, before she moved, like our relationship went through a little struggle because she loved me and trusted me and said some things to me, and I told her dad and she got mad at me for it. And so she stopped talking to me, and it was so hard because she was fixing to move away and I couldn't get through to her my reasonings there. And so then once she moved, she began to just, I guess, miss me and remember, like, and see it from my perspective or what have you. And we reconnected and all of that. And we contact each other, communicate all the time, and we're back to our old selves. And so just moments like this and receiving something so sweet from her means a lot to me. But then we're sitting around after Christmas, and she had, I think what it was is she had these pictures on the back of her phone, like these little tiny pictures. And I was like, oh, that's cute. Like, what's that from? And she's like, oh, I had them printed out. These were the ones left over because I made my mom a locket. And for some reason, I don't know why, for some reason, when she said that, because she gave her her mom a locket with pictures of all of them in it, it all of a sudden made my gift not feel so amazing anymore. Is that horrible to admit?
No, and I think that's the realness of it, right? These are the moments that we all can hit, and I think that's why we got to talk about them, because it's real human life.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, so my gift isn't as special because you did the same thing and you put pictures in hers and of your siblings, and I don't, just all the weird random thoughts that. Okay, and she got hers first because she did Christmas over there first, versus did she put more thought into that? Did she get mine here afterwards, like when she just went to the store yesterday? And it just makes you start thinking of all of these things when it's like this beautiful moment now is being clouded with this jealousy that I have. So.
Yeah, so that's something that, is it's real, it's raw, and, the truth of it is, Riley did an amazing job. She was so thoughtful. She loves her mom. She loves her stepmom. She is a great gift giver, and she carried this thought pattern of, necklaces and stuff like that, and she gave each one something special and unique, and she just put so much thought into it, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. But the thing is us as humans, us as people or as parents, as step families, we let this jealousy creep in. It's like, oh, well, are they more special than me, or are there levels to specialness? And
obviously I should
there's
want
not,
her.
right?
I should want her to give her mom a gift, and I should appreciate, like, that is her mom, that is that place in her life, like obviously she should be giving her a gift. So what is this inside of me that's coming out? And I think that's the thing too, is just because we feel stuff doesn't make it like facts or things that we have to act on. And then so when I had mentioned this topic and then I started thinking about it, I was like, well, I don't want Riley to ever think that I didn't treasure what she got me. So do I actually talk about this openly, or because I never said anything to her? I still haven't said anything to her because I don't want her to think that I didn't appreciate it. But these are the human thoughts that go through our brain.
So now we're gonna have to talk about it.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, because this is what we do. We just go live and we share all of our stuff with everybody. But even like with her and that gift giving. And, we do the same thing. We'll get on a common theme, and we've given gifts before that, we've actually given the same gifts to different family members.
Everybody got hammocks.
Everybody got hammocks. Hammocks for everybody. And, the thing is, it was just a thoughtful gift, but we made it the same across the board. And what Riley did, she took it extra special, and she actually had a theme, but she went above and beyond and just really did an amazing thing for both of her moms in her life. And, it was like, we all do that. And so even though we know we do stuff like that, whenever stuff like that happens to us, we turn it around and we allow the enemy to come in. We allow just humanness. We allow just things to get into our thoughts and in our heads and twist it to where now we can take the beauty of the moment out of it. And that's really, I think that was that realization to you of, wait a minute, that's the wrong thought. I shouldn't be feeling this. And I think that's what, once we recognize that, now we're able to overcome that. We're able to see it for what it is. And we're all about that, to where whenever you can find that wrong thought or that wrong emotion and call it out and be like, wait a minute, that's me being jealous. And if we don't see it and we don't call it out, then it turns into something really ugly in our life, bad fruit in our life, to where now we're acting out or we're acting ugly to other people and things like that, right? To whereas if we see it and we recognize it and we're like, wait a minute, no, I shouldn't be feeling that way. That's wrong, you know? Then now I can change my actions and I can capture that thought, like Scripture tells us. We got to capture our thoughts and, call things for what they are. And does it line up to the Word of God? Does it line up to goodness, love, grace, and things of that? And then, that's what helps us to overcome things as parents. But we see it so many times in our own life and in so many others, to where we allow these to be those deep seeds that just really start sprouting some ugly things, and then allow us to have really the wrong actions and reactions and things.
And I think that's what causes so much division and walls and these wedges to be put in our step families, because this is just one example. But this jealousy isn't even just towards the biological mother, which, we may talk a little bit more on that here just a second, towards her, but that jealousy can come in and creep in towards with your spouse, the relationship that your stepchild and your spouse have, and that maybe he's putting them or his feelings towards his own biological kids above his relationship with you, or above his relationship with your children. It could come in where you are jealous of the biological mom and her relationship with your in-laws, because just because you divorce doesn't mean that the family all cuts them out as well. Sometimes that happens, but sometimes they stay in that relationship, and you feel, I think a lot of that jealousy comes down to insecurity.
Yeah.
And I know for me as a stepmom, in the different situations that would arise when it came to Riley and my feelings towards her, that it was an insecurity that turned into a jealousy. If she didn't want to eat what I cooked her, then it was that insecurity and that jealousy of like, I'm not her mom. I remember her mom sending me recipes of like how to make the food taste better, and like her talking to me about how I can make the vegetables taste better. And I'm like, girl, I don't need you to tell me how to make vegetables taste better. I got this. But that's a pride thing, right? Like, she's trying to share. Like, I know, like, there was different situations where she was trying to share, well, Riley likes to eat this, or Riley likes that. And that pride in me is like, no, I can take care of this situation in my house. You take care of your situation in your house.
Yeah, and it's funny how pride and jealousy go hand in hand, right? Mm-hmm. That our pride is so attached to jealousy, and pride is another hindrance that we have, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's another stumbling block that, if we allow that to come in, then, it just causes more devastation in our families.
Yeah, I think jealousy is like more of that, like, surface feeling, but when you dig deeper, you begin to find some of these other deeper causes in there.
Yeah. So it is, and food's a big one. I've heard so many moms talk about that. I
Yes.
think we had an interview before with, a mom talking about how it was the food and how she could cook the same thing, but then the stepmom would cook it and they like that more. And she's like, ugh.
Yes.
You know?
Well, and I know as a biological mom, and I think I shared that story when we had interviewed and talked with Katie, I think it was then, right, with Co-Parenting Peacefully. And mine was pancakes. Like the kids would not, well, the kids, it's not that they wouldn't eat my pancakes, but they would rave about their stepmom's pancakes.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
and then they asked her how she makes her pancakes so good so that I could make the pancakes just as good. And so she gave me some helpful tips in that area. And so then it's even on that biological mom side of where I'm like, I don't need you to tell me how to make pancakes, but really I did.
It's like, apparently I did. You know, you think you're doing good and everything. It's like, no, my biological kids will love what I'm cooking, and they'll love it beyond anyone else's because I have that mother love and that's put into it.
Yes, I know the special recipe.
And it's love. Don't y'all see this, kids? And they're
Yes.
like, no.
Then I think food is just, I think, one of those main triggers because it is something that we have to do on a regular basis, right?
Yeah.
Like we're eating and we're trying. It's one of those areas that the kids have control over because of what they're going to put inside their body. And it's one way that they can use to reject you in a sense because they know, okay, if I don't eat this, then it's going to make her upset. But even my biological kids don't eat it. And so, and it does make me upset too.
So yeah, definitely food is one of those triggers. And so what are some other triggers of jealousy?
I know, and this is a weird one. I'm pretty sure we've talked about it before, but when you would tuck Riley in at night and you would give her kisses or she would sit on your lap, it was, and like this wasn't necessarily a jealousy because of my kid, like you to your kid versus my kid. That one hit the inner child, I think. So it was really like the way that he loved Riley in this fatherly way and tucked her in. And I'm like, this girl is 12 and 13 years old. She doesn't need you still tucking her in, kissing her goodnight with y'all's little, I love you more, or see you in the, what would you always say to each other?
Oh, what was it? See you in the morning, bright and early, and we'd blow kisses and stuff.
Yeah, and y'all would like yell bright and early back and
bright and early.
And I think, again, if I really went to the root of it, there's several things there. And that was the surface thing that I'd be like, ugh. But, and do you even know this?
Huh?
Do you know this? Have we talked about this?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, have we talked about this? But some of the things, surface
Well,
level.
now, unless you share something completely different, I don't know. Then I'm going to be like, oh, I did not know
No,
that.
I did not know. I think some of it, and I think there's like 3 different parts here. One is we're putting the kids to bed, and I'm ready for my me time with you. And especially in the beginning of our relationship when we did not have any alone time, and it's like, just get on with it already. You know, like
It's my turn.
put her to bed, it's time. And then there's this other part of, oh, well, me and the kids, I'm not doing this little back. And, I would tuck them in. We would read books sometimes. But this little thing that y'all had with each other that we didn't necessarily do. And so it's like, oh, well, is he a better dad than I am to his kids?
Of course, I'm a better dad than you're not.
'Cause I'm
you're
not a dad.
You're not the better dad. I'm the better dad. You're a mom.
This is true. But then I think it goes even deeper than that, is that I never experienced a father's love in that way. And so when you did that with Riley, to me, it was inappropriate. It was like a gross, which I think is what we have talked about before. It's like, that's not normal. And it took me with some self-reflection to realize, oh, that's how a dad loves his daughter. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So there's not a cutoff, which we've learned from all the studying and everything that we've experienced too, is like that time period, your kids really need you to keep showing up. They're transitioning from this little girl into this mature, their body is changing and all of this, and they're already feeling weird and insecure there. And then if their dad stops hugging them and loving them in the same way, like they begin to feel like something's wrong with me.
Yeah, they start feeling insecure in their own skin. So that, just a plug for dads, don't stop. Your kids, when they're transitioning into a woman, still be there and hug them and love them. Don't, if you make it weird, then it's going to be 10 times weird for them. So yeah, you still got to be there. But.
Yeah. Some other jealousy moments as a stepmom. And I guess some of these, I feel like they go hand in hand because it's a biological mom's instinct, like that primal instinct to protect your kids and give them everything. Like I felt like you gave Riley anything that she wanted, and I was a single mom and I was struggling and I wasn't able to give my kids all of those same things. And so then when you would buy her school pictures or her yearbook every single year, or we would go to a concert and she wanted a shirt or a stuffed animal or a whatever that went along with it, I was like, that's not okay. Like you're spending too much on her, and you probably would spend it on all of the kids. I don't know, because I think I put a block up on there because I'm like, no, this isn't okay. We shouldn't be spending $40 every shirt at a concert times 3 children,
And it really was. That came down to parenting differences that, I would do things one way with Riley. You would do things differently, and you've always been a lot more frugal in certain areas. And, when it came down to it, there's a lot of areas that I'm not frugal in that I'll just go above and beyond. And, there'd be that wall, Then we started parenting differently. I do something for Riley, and then you do something for Devin and Riley Rain, and then we're sitting here kind of parenting separately, and that brought a lot of division and stuff until we figured that one out. It was like, dang it, yeah, we've been doing it wrong. And
yeah, so there's all these like little natural instincts of jealousy that pop up, and when you're in the early years, you don't want to admit that, because then you're admitting that you're part of the problem, I think. And so you want to kind of put up some guards like, no, you're just wrong. You shouldn't be spending that money, or you shouldn't be loving on your daughter that way. It's just, we begin to put up these different excuses.
Yeah. So, man, there are so many jealousy triggers that we can have as a stepmom. But we can also talk on a biological mom because, hey, you are both. You've got it on both sides,
true.
babe. You're a biological mom as well. So we're going to talk on a few of those struggles here in just a minute, and then we're going to kind of share how to overcome some of this, how to be able not to let this be a bad fruit in your life, but to be able to pluck that out and bring in some good fruit and plant some new good seeds in our lives to where, we don't allow this to be a negative thing in our lives, but to be able to really use it for something good and beautiful in our family. So we will share that here in just a minute.
Blended families can be hard at times, can't they? Have you ever said, I don't feel like me and my spouse are connecting? Or I'm bending over backwards and my stepkid still pushes me away? Or do you feel like your family's doing okay, but you'd like it to be more than okay? You want your family to level up, take it to an even stronger level.
The truth is, we're all looking for more joy and happiness in our lives. So how do we start seeing that in our blended family? Because really, our family is the first place we should truly be enjoying and having the most fun with. So how do you enjoy your blended family? You create more fun opportunities that your family loves doing. These are big things, they're small things that cost money, things that don't cost money. But the more fun you have together, the less blended family drama you'll have, which equals more joy and happiness for everyone. Now, you may be saying, yeah, but I don't know how to do that. I don't even know where to start. That's okay. We walk you through 5 fun dates you get to have with your family. These days help you discover those fun things your family loves doing. You'll walk away with so many more great ideas and have an amazing, easy plan to make it happen and to keep it going. Plus, you get to have a lot of fun discovering all this in the process. We walk you through everything and make it really fun and easy.
So how do you enjoy your blended family? By going on these 5 dates and discovering fun in your stepfamily. You'll be so glad you did. Have more fun together and you'll see less problems. The link to get started on this amazing journey is in the show notes of this episode.
All right, so we have kind of shared some of the jealousy triggers that we can have. So we've been talking right on jealousy, how so many stepmoms have this jealousy within them, but they don't want to call it out. They don't want to share. They don't want to talk about it. Sometimes we don't even think it's jealousy until later on we get hit with a ugly stick, and it's like,
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I've been jealous this whole freaking time. What the crap?
Yeah, many of those things we were saying, like back then, I wouldn't have really labeled them as jealous. Like I was saying before we went to break, is I would make reasons why those things were not okay and acceptable. But it's taken my over the years and growth that I'm able to see, like, ooh, that's what that was.
Yeah, so, we kind of share some of those triggers and jealousy triggers that we have I say we have as stepmoms, because I'm one of y'all,
No, I did ask Randall, well, like, we should talk about jealousy. Like, what is the jealousy you had? And he's like, I'm not jealous. I'm like, what? I'm like, you're not jealous towards, I said my kid's dad's name to him, and he's like, no. I'm like, you're so annoying.
No, and I think
You're so annoying.
And that's topical, surface right. But there, if we dig deep, there are some jealousy things that
now
dads
you want to get
face.
real with the podcast.
Yeah, we got to turn on the camera for some realness. But, I think we could talk on, jealousies of a stepdad or jealousies of a bio dad and things like that. Because there are some, and there are some differences. But I think women definitely are more in tune with their emotions than men are. And so for guys, we just block things and just kind of, I'm not going to let that be a thing. I'm just going to move on and go this direction. I'm going to go a different direction, and we're not as in tune, we don't have that gift. But I think as women, as you are dealing with that, being more in tune with your emotions and stuff, a lot more heartache comes because of things like jealousy and stuff like that y'all ponder on that so much more than what guys do. And I'm not saying that guys don't go without, but I think women have a harder time processing and dealing with some of that just because y'all have that gifting of dealing with emotions more. I think I said that right. Did I do good?
Yeah.
Did I do a good job, men?
Good spit on that.
Good ladies
when
are
the
like,
Lord
hey,
was talking about jealousy being a negative thing, he was talking to the women, is what Randall was saying.
Not at all. But, so talking on a stepmom's perspective, but let's talk just for a second on a biological mom's perspective. So some of those triggers, I think you've shared some of them already.
Yeah, the food, I think that's like a basic one. I think the main, the hard part is, because I'm going to hit just a few different relationships in our step families where jealousy arises. And I think the very main one is another woman stepping in and caring for your kids and playing mom or being mom in their household, and that insecurity of, you feel like the kid has to, who's better? It's a competition. And so when it's a competition, that's when the pride kicks in and the insecurities and all of this stuff, and the jealousy arises from that. And that is a tough one. You're giving your kids over to someone else that you created, and now they're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. And that's such, and that's a hard thing even for dads as well, to have that other father figure, that other mother figure come into their life. And, that's, unfortunately, that's part of the challenges we face as a blended family that's just part of it. Whenever we divorce, that's one of the negative things, but we can allow that to really hinder us. We can allow that jealousy to take root, and we can allow that competition to be really negative in our lives to where it's spilling over into our kids, to where they're getting the bad effects from that now because we're trying to compete and we're trying to show them that we're better than the other person just so that, we feel better about ourselves and we feel like we're in the role that we're supposed to be in. And that's just not healthy. It's not healthy for us because now we're in a fear mode. If we get down to the root of that jealousy, it puts a lot of fear into our life that we're not going to be that special person, or are our kids going to love us as much?
Yeah, that we're being
Are they
replaced.
going to do something that's even better than what I'm doing? And then they're going to love them more. And now I feel rejected and I'm the biological parent. They shouldn't feel rejected. And then,
Well, and that desire, they're going to, because the other person does this better, does it different, relates to them in this other way, are they going to want to leave and go? In our situation, we were raising the kids pretty much full time for the majority of the raising of them until their teen years. And that was a fear that was like at the core of everything, is if I don't do everything perfect, then they're going to want to go to their other parents and live with them. And yet I still have to make decisions that are best for my kids. I can't. So that's where another jealousy comes in, because, okay, they can go to their other parents and they can have fun. They can go to the movies. Oh, it's so nice that they can spend all of this money on them when we're over here struggling and we can't go do all the fun stuff all the time because we're taking care of all of the responsibility in this capacity. But that was our choice, and the things that we did or didn't do. And you watch them, and that's where that Disneyland dad concept comes in, is you're watching, oh, okay, so it's cool. You get to come pick them up. You buy them new shoes. You buy them new clothes, which I give them secondhand clothes. Again, my choice. Randall, if it was up to him, we would probably go buy new clothes. But in my head, that wasn't a necessity. But their dad was all about the fashion. And so every weekend he was going and buying them more things to wear. And then it's like, okay, well, I feel like I'm not good enough when I'm not providing for them in this way, when in truth we could have if we wanted to, right?
Sure.
Or we're not taking them to do all this stuff because, we have homework to do and we have a house to clean and we have this sporting event to go to. And so we're bouncing from all these other things. So we're not able to focus on all of that fun stuff.
Yeah, so it does. It turns into jealousy. You're looking at them, and then that comes the fear. It turns into fear because now it's like, well, they're having so much fun over there.
They're dangling a little fun carrot.
Yeah, they're going to want to leave and go live over there, and then we're going to be without them even for long periods, and that we don't want that either. And what do we do? And in truth, they go over there, and then that parent then has to be the parent that does all the other things, and then the fun goes away, and then we get to be the fun parents. And it's just one of these things that it's a struggle, because the reality is our kids, unless they're doing 50-50, they're going to spend more time with one of the biological parents than the other, and that's just the way that weight goes. And most of the time,
yeah. And who wants to be, if it's your weekend and you only get the kids for this short period of time, or you get them just for a month in the summer because you live in another state? Who would want to do all of the responsible? Like, I wouldn't if the roles were reversed. Like, I'd be like, let's plan a trip. Let's do this. Let's do all this fun stuff, because nobody wants to clean house.
Yeah. And well, I want to capitalize on the time that we have together. I don't want it to be on all the crap stuff. I want it to be on the good, fun stuff and us doing things and making memories and stuff like that. So, it's just, when you look at it from both sides, it's hard. It's hard being a biological parent. It's hard being a step parent. There is no, I want to say there is no right and wrong, but there is. There are ways that we can handle it. But, I think when it comes down to it, if we allow jealousy to take root and we allow jealousy to be our driving force in how we parent, then all we're going to do is pull our family apart. We're going to push our kids away. We're going to push our spouse away. We're going to push ourselves away, and I think that's the root of it, is really trying to get down to what do we do?
Well,
So,
hold on real quick before we go into that, because there was a couple different points that have like come up. First of all, I want to say that I will be the first to admit, had I not let jealousy and fear and the insecurity and all of that be a driving force for myself, I think I would have been able to co-parent with both sides, with Riley's biological mom and with my kid's biological dad. I think I would have done a much better job if I would not have been jealous or insecure or the pride that came in there, which again, they're all like wrapped up and intertwined in each other. Now, we still had our issues, and I think we would have still like not been on the same page on certain topics. But I think had I been able to release that and do some of the things that I did later on in life that we're going to talk about, then I think co-parenting would have been a lot better. I could have done a better job myself, I'm saying. And then the other last jealousy part that I want to say that I think affects stepmoms and biological moms, and probably, both for the dads, and that is the jealousy towards nuclear families. And we talked about this a little bit in our resentment episode, but being around a group of friends, because my group of friends that I raised the kids up with in church and in school, they were all like nuclear families, mom and dad still in the house raising their kids, and they would be able to do these things in a different way. They didn't have to share their kids every other weekend. They didn't have to deal with other people when it came to making decisions for their kids. They didn't have to just deal with all of the struggle and all the, you're not my mom, I hate you, all of the stuff that comes along with it. That jealousy towards them, even though they didn't do anything, they're just being them and very loving and very supportive towards me, helped me through like some of the hardest times of being a single mom. But there's still that root inside there of like just upset that I can't have what they have.
Yeah, but even that being, such a great point is that we can look at some of those nuclear families if they are in our life. And I think where we really messed up is we try to mimic it.
We try to model our life.
Right, because it's kind of like, oh, well, we want our family to look like their family. And so we would try to make our family that way. We would try to, parent our kids in the same way, or we try to, just make decisions as a family in the same way. And because we were like, that's what we wanted and that's what we were trying to get. But in reality, that wasn't us. It's that whole keeping up with the Joneses mentality. We hear that in financial things, like we want to do it, in buying stuff and money and all that. But it comes down even in step families that, we can look at that family and being like, well, we want our family to look just like that. Well, it's not going to, and I think whenever we can come to that realization and say our family is going to look different than that, and it's okay, it's okay that it does, but now we need to make choices that, are blended family choices, and we've got to look at it through that scope, because we can't look at it through that nuclear family scope in a sense.
Because it's hard to be that nuclear fairy tale family when you have these other spouses in the picture.
Right.
So it's like you're trying to put up these walls and close them out when that's not healthy.
That's not, because the kids, and I really hope everyone hears this, and we try to say it a lot. But, our kids need both. They need both biological parents in their life, and they need, that's a need in their life.
Desire,
That's it. And we should never block that out. And, so I know there were many things that we've done wrong kind of in raising our family and our kids.
I don't think we did it on purpose.
Not at all.
It was a subconscious, like we're just trying to
make our family this way.
And like run our household. And in a sense, because Riley's mom was in another state on a normal basis, she wasn't there, holidays and summers and stuff.
We were closer, that would have looked different.
There would have been a lot more sharing that I think would have been a little bit easier, but because she wasn't, and we weren't just out searching for it or seeking it either. And then I think in a sense, when I would want to try, then that fear of rejection, or that I'm being extra, or that, all the stuff that comes along with that, like I'm poking the bear, and I'm not trying to do that either. And so it's like, I don't know what's the right thing, so I'm going to do nothing. And then with my kid's dad, like, he was here locally, but he was just going through a lot of stuff at the time. But I do think there was a lot of times that to me, it was just easier. Let me just build this wall and shut him out, because I don't want that influence in the kid's life. And that wasn't right either.
Yeah. So there were so many, things that we did wrong, and we learned through and struggled through, but learned a whole lot, in that, and started changing things later in life. Wish we had changed them earlier. Probably would have helped everybody.
And to take the time after you do, when we're going to talk about some stuff here in just a second on some ways to help, but it's never too late to apologize to your kids. Now, I don't know if your ex-spouses necessarily want to hear it. I know I have tried once with my ex-husband, and he said it's too late. And I was like, okay. Okay. And just move on. But we do a decent job now of just being able to be present. And I love the women that he brings into the kids' lives, their stepmom, and then his current girlfriend. I think they're good for him. So I have no hard feelings there.
Yeah. So it takes a lot. It takes a lot to get to that place,
Yeah.
but it's one that whenever we can pluck that jealousy thing out, we have a better chance of, like we said, making better choices and handling relationships a whole lot better, to where they are healthier for everybody.
Yeah.
But okay, so we've talked about a lot of jealousy triggers and calling out a lot of what we all go through and deal with. How do we overcome it? How does a stepmom overcome this jealousy thing?
Well, I think the main thing that I had to learn for myself is I can only control me, and I can only control my thoughts and what that looks like. And so for me, when things came to a head, when all of the kids moved out and went to go live with their other parent, and I was left with a whole lot of self-reflection and inner growth, I had to be honest and admit to myself where I was wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that was hard, because I would not want to, it's always somebody else's fault. Of course it was not me. I was not the problem. But when I was left sitting alone and having to reflect, and it started with prayer and just sitting alone in my prayer time and just like, God, help me. What is going on here? Help me in this situation. I don't want this. I want to have a relationship with my kids. He began to reveal things to me. And then, we've talked about that. I started going to therapy on accident, because our youngest was supposed to be in therapy. We were trying to get her help for her problems. And then little did I know, when she stopped showing up to her appointments, I said, well, can I just sit in and just tell you? Because I still want to talk about her and her problems. And then I began to have things,
start turning into you and your problems.
Turning on to me, and like, my problem in the situation is like, oh, okay. So then my therapist taught me some tools to really dig into what is the root of that. And that is why I'm a lot more vocal now and can say like, well, this is what was going on there, because I'm looking inward and asking like, why is that such a problem? And I've learned from all of that, really nobody else and their emotions can affect me unless I allow it to affect me. And
that's good. It's
a trigger in me that it's something I haven't dealt with. And when I realize, like, if something does affect me emotionally, and I'm like, well, what's the root of that? And when I'm like, oh, okay, then I can deal with that specifically. It has nothing to do with them and their situation.
Yeah, so it's really getting to that point of asking, why is this a thing for me? Why does it make me feel this way? And then asking why a whole lot about it and digging deep to get to the root of, hey, this is probably a thing I was struggling with as a kid.
Yeah.
Like
we said with the example of you and Riley and the bedtime routine, the surface level was, the why was, well, I want my time with you. Yeah. And then it went a little bit deeper. Well, why? Well, maybe because I'm insecure that I'm not a good as parent that he is. Okay, when I went a little bit deeper, I went back to my childhood, and I don't know how to be loved by a daddy.
You got some daddy issues.
I got some daddy issues.
So it is one of those, we kind of laugh about that, but whenever we do hit those triggers, asking ourselves why, and then ask yourself why again. I think Dean Graziosi does a really good job of that 7 layers deep, the thing that he had learned, but you're asking yourself why. And then you answer that. Then you ask yourself why again. And then it just really takes you down to the root
But you
of the
have
problem.
to be honest. You
do.
have to be honest with yourself.
Yeah, if not, you're lying through the whole thing, and then you accomplish nothing.
Yeah.
So, it really is. And I love how you say it has to start with me. I can't control everyone else's actions. And I think that's what we do a lot of times in raising our family in a step family is we're trying to control everyone's actions. We're trying to control our kids' actions and their thoughts. We're trying to control our co-parenting and their thoughts. And ultimately we can't. You can't, and all you're doing is you're a salmon swimming upstream, you're going against the current. Yeah, that's not the way it's supposed to happen. We have to start with us. We can only control ourselves, and then try to approach everything else with love, whenever we can do that. And yeah, I say that, but it's not just that. It's try to put yourself in that other person's shoes. Mm-hmm. And I think that's been some of the biggest learning tools that we have that have softened our hearts, allowed God to really come into our lives and put ourselves in their shoes and see it from their perspective. And a lot of their attacks or retaliations just out of hurt. They're hurting because of certain things or maybe things that we've done and stuff as well.
Yeah, that's what, when we raised the kids and we had them in our house, we never knew what it was like to be away from them for that long, a period of time. And so when the kids went and lived with their other parents, that was an experience that I think God allowed me to understand from their perspective. I related to Riley's mom so much more in that moment of not having my kids on a regular basis and feeling that disconnect from them. I was suddenly put inside of her shoes and her feelings and her emotions, and I was like, this sucks. There was a time that she had said, it's like mourning a child as if they were dead. And I'm like, but they're not dead. Your child is here living and thriving. Well, when they're not in your everyday life and you're used to that, it is like mourning a death. You're mourning this relationship that you had. And although they're alive, they're not present in your life right now. And it feels like it's just so empty.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's, that period I've talked about with me and Riley, to where, we went 3 years almost where we didn't speak. She blocked me from everything because she, was just believing certain things that were untrue and allowed things to become monsters, and she would run from things at that time too. And so I went almost 3 years without her, and we always had a super strong relationship. And so it's like devastating, not having them in your life. And so it was a complete learning and growing process. And I think that's it. I think the biggest how to overcome any of these obstacles is, you've got to take it to God. I know going through all of the stuff we did, had we not leaned on God, then we would have allowed our mourning, we would allow the misery probably to turn into depression, probably turn into just a lot of negative emotion in our life that would have overcome and consumed us, and probably would have affected our marriage, and probably caused more wedges in between us to where we would have fallen apart as well. But having us running to God instead of running away from God allowed us to actually come together in it, do some soul searching, allow God to really show us things about ourselves that we could improve on, or, how to really navigate our thoughts and our emotions. And we actually came together on that. And just from us doing that, and we share all this because if that's you, if you're in this season of life, or, if you see this as being a fear for you, start now, start leaning on God now, so that you don't have to hit some of these roadblocks. But if you're knee deep in it and, this is where you're at, that was the key to us overcoming all the hardships. And whenever we were able to really capture our thoughts and allow God to work on us, that's what changed our relationships with our kids. That's whenever we were able to release things in our lives and set free certain things that had hold on us, certain fears and certain jealousies and things of that. We're able to release those. It freed us up as parents to where we weren't as, we were able to be more chill and not set such high bars for everybody. And whenever we were able to do that, our kids actually ran towards us, and it actually brought them closer to us and to where we have such strong and good relationships now than we have ever had before. And, it was really a beautiful thing just doing that. But it took leaning on God, on his word, allowing him to work on us doing self-reflection, youth therapy, along with it. And, just kind of using all these tools to say, you know what, we can't control everyone else, but we can control ourselves. I just want to be my best self. What does that take? What are things I can work on?
And when we are our best selves and we're honest with ourselves in that way, it is attractive to other people and they want to be around that. But as long as we are holding on to all of that, the jealousy, the pride, the insecurity, and everything, that bitterness really sets in. And when that bitterness sets in, it's toxic, and it pushes people away, and we can't love in the same way that we were created to love because we see things through this filter. But it was just, I can't explain it unless you've experienced it, this tight grip on life and parenting that I had, that when I did this self-reflection, the freedom that came from that I can sit in the room with my kids and completely disagree with whatever they're saying or doing, and it don't bother me, and it's not like I'm just being a disengaged parent and that I'm not involved, but it's just a different kind of emotion that's attached to it. I still love them. I still pray for them. If something like maybe I'm like, oh, this ain't good, then I don't have to fix it or force myself on them in that situation. I just walk away from that. Sometimes right there in my head I'm praying, or sometimes I walk away from that and it gives me a new direction on how to pray for them behind closed doors. But it allows me to trust God in a way that I never had before.
Yeah, so good, so good. So does a stepmom deal with jealousy? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Whether you want to admit it or not, it is a thing. And, does a biological mom deal with jealousy? Yes. Whether you want to admit it or deal with it, and that's kind of, I think that's, if you get nothing else from this, just know that, whenever we can call it for what it is, then we can overcome it. Mm-hmm. And whenever we allow us to not try to change everyone else, but self-reflect and change me and lean on God and go to God and say, help expose what's wrong with me, or things that I can do better, or things that are holding me back in life, holding me back in my relationships, and be honest and say, I just, expose them. If there's anything there, show me, help me, and allow God to start working on you from the inside out.
And it's a little painful, just like when Jesus does the whole analogy with the gardener and the pruning. Like, that process when he's breaking things off of you is a little painful because you're face to face with some of your own demons in a sense. And when you are allowing him to work on you and you become honest and you start working through that, apologize where you need to apologize, all of those things, beautiful things flourish. I just have this visual right now of when I worked out at the elementary school that I worked out at. Every spring, they would chop off the top halves of all of these little trees in the walkway. And it looked so ugly at first because they had nothing on them. They were just completely dead trees. And now they've been chopped on each of the limbs. And then you just start to see, as the spring comes, these little tiny buds coming from them. And within a month, they're beautiful and, full again. And exactly what they were created to be. And that is what God is doing inside of us all the time. So give yourself grace in the process as well.
And just know that it's a journey. Life is a journey. Being in a step family is a journey. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get it right. But the more that we trust God, the more that we dive into allowing God to work on us, you'll just start you seeing blessing after blessing after blessing. And, it is a journey. It's, we're not going to get it right, but we become our better selves every month, every year. The more we keep leaning and pressing in on what God wants for us and our family, and then our family reaps the rewards from it.
Yeah.
And we do too. We become more free.
Yes.
We become more free and more confident in ourselves, and just more loving. Trying to see it from our kids' perspectives and from our everyone else's perspectives and stuff. So yeah, we don't always have to be right. We can just be. Just love each other. So listen, guys, I hope you just walk away totally inspired from this. And if you don't know where to start, hopefully you have some better ideas. But start with yourself and just start with God, and get alone and get quiet and just say, God, is there jealousy in my life? And if there is, expose it. Let's pluck it out, work on me, because I want to be free from it. Is jealousy holding me back in my relationships? And, just allow him to press in and help pluck, prune, and grow something really beautiful in you and in your relationships. So, man, it will take your step family a lot of places, a lot of good places. So,
yes.
So listen, we love you guys, and we will see you on the next episode. Later.
Bye. Thanks for joining us today. We hope this episode has been a blessing and encouraged your family journey.
Make sure you stay connected with us and join our weekly Blended Family newsletter. We send an email out every Friday morning full of support and encouragement.
And when you join, we also want to give you a free gift. So go get yours today. The link is in the show notes below.
Have an amazing day. Remember to enjoy the journey with your blended family, and we'll see you on the next episode.